Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to really get into the weeds of interesting source materials and pull out those fascinating bits for you.
That's the plan.
And today we've got a really unique one, William Boericke's Homeopathic Materia Medica. It's basically, an early 1900s guide to remedies and their observed effects.
A foundational text in that field, absolutely.
Let's focus. A plant called Chenopodium Antheminticum. You might know it as Jerusalem oak.
Right. Not something you hear about every day.
No. And our mission really is to explore what this old text says about it, because the details are just, well, they're incredibly specific, sometimes surprising, sometimes almost contradictory.
Yeah, the level of detail is striking.
Exactly. Like, how did they pinpoint an intense pain specifically under the right shoulder blade? Or get this, hearing high sounds better while being deaf to voices. It makes you wonder. So let's dive in.
Let's do it. Where do we start?
Okay. Boericke highlights this characteristic pain in scapula. He calls it very marked. And it's not vague at all. It's a intense pain between angle of right shoulder blade near spine and through the chest.
Wow. That precise localization. It's
Yeah.
really something. You don't just stumble on that kind of description.
No, you don't. It suggests, really careful observation, doesn't it? Long before we had fancy imaging or anything, just listening and noting very, very carefully.
Exactly.
Yep.
And for it to be listed as characteristic, that means they saw it repeatedly, reliably linked to this remedy.
Yeah.
It raises questions about, how they filtered patient reports to find these unique identifiers.
It really does. So, okay, from that super specific pain, the text then goes somewhere much heavier, the nervous system. It lists symptoms of apoplexy, right, hemiplegia, and aphasia.
Which, for context, that's stroke-like symptoms, paralysis on one side, trouble speaking, very serious conditions.
Yeah, absolutely profound effects to associate with a plant remedy.
It points towards a perceived powerful action on the central nervous system. And Boericke also mentions stertorous breathing, that sort of heavy snoring breathing you get in serious states.
Oh, right.
And he even compares it to opium in that context.
Ah, okay. So drawing parallels with known potent substances, that tells you something.
Definitely. It suggests the effects were seen as quite significant, impacting core functions like breathing, similar to opioids.
And sticking with the neurological theme, there's also vertigo. Sudden vertigo, it says. And it even mentions Meniere's disease and oral vertigo.
Which again is quite specific. Meniere's involves that whole complex of severe dizziness, ringing ears, hearing loss, tying Chenopodium directly to inner ear problem.
It really does. But then we get to the hearing itself, and this is where, for me, it just gets fascinatingly weird.
This is probably the most talked about part of its profile.
So it talks about affections of auditory nerves, a torpor of auditory nerve. Okay, so like a sluggishness, maybe reduced hearing function.
That's the implication, yes.
Yeah.
A sort of dullness.
But this, it says, hearing better for high-pitched sounds. How does that work with a torpid nerve?
Hey, right, that's the paradox.
And it keeps going immediately after that. Comparative deafness to sound of voice. So you can't hear people talking well, yet great sensitiveness to sound as of passing vehicles and even a shrinking from low tones.
It's a very peculiar constellation of symptoms, isn't it? Better hearing for high sounds, worse for voice, but hypersensitive to other noises like traffic, and specifically disliking low sounds.
It's so counterintuitive. How could one thing cause all that?
Yeah.
Better high pitch, deaf to voice, sensitive to cars, hates bass.
Well, it certainly challenges a simple mechanical view of hearing loss, doesn't it? It
Yeah.
suggests perhaps a very complex neurological or central processing disturbance being observed, or maybe reflecting very specific patient experiences that were recorded verbatim. It's hard to say definitively how they reconciled it, but they clearly felt it was a key part of the picture.
Yeah.
And Boericke also throws in buzzing in ears and enlargement of tonsils nearby, maybe suggesting other related head-neck issues contributing to this complex picture.
Interesting connection. Okay, so beyond the head, shoulders, ears, there are a few other specifics, like the urinary symptoms,
Right, there's a brief mention.
copious yellow foaming urine, acrid sensation in urethra, yellowish sediment, and it's compared to chelidonium there.
Yeah, another remedy. Just adding another layer to its profile, another piece of the puzzle they were building.
Okay, but just as we're mapping out all these, subtle, specific, sometimes odd symptoms, Boericke completely shifts gears.
Yes. The other side of Chenopodium.
Totally. After all this focus on individualized, often neurological or sensory symptoms, he states its use as oil of Chenopodium for hookworm and roundworm.
Bam. a very different application. Much more direct, physical, almost crude compared to the nuanced symptom picture.
Exactly. It's such a contrast. So what do we make of that? This plant has this incredibly detailed homeopathic profile, and then it's also just warm medicine.
Well, it really highlights the practical realities of medicine at the time, I think. Parasitic infections like hookworm and roundworm were huge public health problems. Finding effective treatments, anthelmintics, was critical.
Sure, makes sense.
Chenopodium, specifically the oil derived from it, was known historically for that purpose, quite apart from its homeopathic provings. Boericke includes the practical dosage too. 10 minimum doses every 2 hours for 3 doses. Very specific instructions for a direct treatment.
10 minims, okay. That sounds like a measured dose, not a homeopathic dilution.
Precisely. And he even mentions carbon tetrachloride alongside it, another substance used against worms back then. So this section is clearly about its direct physiological anti-parasitic action. It shows how remedies were often understood through multiple lenses, their subtle effects and provings, and their known toxic or therapeutic uses in larger doses.
Got it. So it's like two different ways of looking at the same plant recorded in one place.
Essentially, yes. And Boericke rounds things off with relationships to other remedies.
Right, the relationship section. It lists opium, which you mentioned with breathing, China, and chelidonium, which came up with the urine symptoms. So kind of grouping it with others based on similarities, maybe.
Exactly. For comparison, for differentiation, standard practice of materia medicus. And finally, he notes the third potency for homeopathic use.
Ah, okay. So that explicitly contrasts with the oil of Chenopodium, 10 minim dose for worms.
Yes. It clearly separates the two main applications discussed.
Yeah.
The potentized remedy used based on the complex symptom picture versus the material dose of the oil used as a direct anthelmintic. Two distinct approaches for the same source plant.
Wow, what a fascinating trip through just one entry in this old text. Chenopodium Antheminticum. I mean, from that incredibly precise shoulder blade pain to the absolutely bizarre hearing issues.
Better high, worse voice, sensitive to traffic.
Right, all the way to being a straightforward treatment for worms. It's quite a spectrum. It really shows how much detailed observation went into these records, capturing such diffuse aspects of a single plant.
It truly does. And perhaps, the thought to leave our listeners with is how these detailed, sometimes seemingly disconnected observations about one plant, like Chenopodium, really invite us to think about the complexity of the body's responses. It's a window into how different medical systems try to map and understand those responses. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other insights might be tucked away in overlooked historical sources like Boericke's, just waiting to be rediscovered or re-examined? What unexpected connections might still be found?